The two men you're about to meet set about chasing an image of muscular perfection, building their daily lives around working out and dramatically pushing their bodies to bulk up. But for one of these men, the obsession went way too far. Here's ABC's Gio Benitez.
Washboard abs, chiseled pecs, nearly 200 pounds of pure muscle. What's your height?
6'2".
Weight?
192.
Body fat?
Probably like 12, 13.
I mean, these are things most 18-year-olds don't know about themselves.
I'd say so, yeah.
At just 18 years old, David Lade is often seen as the poster boy for physical perfection. But just 4 years ago, David looked like this, just 98 pounds at 14 years old. He says he was bullied in school for being scrawny.
Every aspect of my life was basically just heavily impaired by how insecure I was and how I looked. I was a twig, an absolute twig.
Desperate for a change, he turned to YouTube videos for advice on how to transform his body.
I just went on YouTube and I typed in chest workout.
Now he's a social media celebrity himself. This transformation video chronicling his weight-gaining odyssey has more than 14 million views on YouTube. What do you think it is about that video that had so many people looking at this?
I think it's just the completely massive change in the human being, because I was just a small skinny kid and all of a sudden it's just a completely massive transformation.
He lifts big, sometimes up to 6 hours a day, and eats nearly 5,000 calories.
I don't have to know about these.
Posting it all on social media. You think people are always sort of looking for that before and after?
Before and afters are really motivational because it makes people feel wow, if this person did it, he was just an average person, he looked like this, and he ended up achieving this type of success, he looks like this now, that actually motivates people. I remember when I started out, when I would see transformations like that, it would be crazy inspirational.
You could call what he does big-spiration. Today, videos of young men like David flexing and pumping iron have millions of views, giving a new crop of scrawny boys advice on how to get bigger faster. But for some, the desire to bulk up can just as easily be an obsession, leading some young men down a destructive path, compulsively dieting and working out, never feeling quite big enough.
Ideal male body size and musculature seems to have become kind of more and more inflated over the years, to the point where it would be very difficult for anybody to kind of achieve this.
Here I am around 20 and at 140 pounds, and then on the right here I am around 25, 26 at 260 pounds.
For 29-year-old web designer Dylan Haffertepen, the quest for maximum muscle has been a lifelong struggle.
I used to look at them and really beat myself up because it's this is so out of reach, and why am I not there?
At 18, the California native weighed 140 pounds, but in 7 years, he doubled his size, following intense workouts, drinking 6 protein shakes a day, and spending half of his paycheck on supplements.
Alpha-lipoic acid, acetylcholine. Honestly, I should probably scale back. Some of them I just keep taking out of habit.
His entire life devoted to his body.
I would always choose to work out over hanging out with friends. I would not go out to eat. I had my meals prepared and I would eat them all by myself. I usually picked jobs where offices were near a gym of my preference. I was so caught up in that lifestyle, obsessed with getting bigger, 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 that I never really considered this a problem.
Despite getting up to 265 pounds, sporting 20-inch biceps, Dylan says he still never felt big enough.
I perceive myself as very small and weak and inadequate. I would get very upset about how small my arms seemed in proportion to my waist, to my shoulders, to my neck. I would focus on all these things that made me very upset.
Dylan says that bodybuilding videos on social media were a trigger for him.
You don't see any average-looking superheroes, and that can create this false idea of what the male physique should be.
His infatuation with getting huge ultimately landed him in the hospital. He had gotten so big, his blood pressure was so high, he had to have his heart shocked back to normal.
I had negotiated with myself that, it would have been okay to succumb to death at an early age by pushing myself beyond what my body was capable of. There's no amount of size I could have added in that headspace that would have fixed that.
Dylan realized he needed help. His quest for the perfect muscular body was actually a psychological condition known as muscle dysmorphia, more commonly called bigorexia.
People with muscle dysmorphia have a belief or a perception that their body is too small or scrawny, that they're not muscular enough, and they have a very strong desire to become bigger.
Roughly 1 in 50 people in the United States have been diagnosed with body dysmorphic disorder, and it affects just as many men as women. Up to a quarter of those people are believed to be muscle dysmorphic, which is sometimes called the reverse anorexia.
People with anorexia nervosa believe that they're too fat and too large and they want to become thinner, whereas people with bigorexia believe that they're too small and not muscular enough and they want to become bigger.
Patients are most often treated with medication specific to their symptoms and therapy that targets damaging behavior.
So it can help them cut down on the amount of time that they're, say, checking in the mirror, which helps them think less about their appearance, gradually cut down the amount of time that they're in the gym, help them deal with the fears that they have, that they're going to possibly lose muscle mass or lose size if they exercise less. Help them reframe their ideas about the importance of appearance in general.
You can be a bodybuilder, you can be a fitness nut, and that's great. But when is that crossing the line into an obsessive compulsive disorder that is endangering you? That's when you need to look for help.
Bodybuilding videos on social media were a trigger for Dylan, but there's no evidence they cause muscle dysmorphia, and people who work out, even hardcore devotees like David, don't necessarily have a problem.
Your body has changed dramatically. Now you're thinking you still want to get bigger, you still want to get stronger.
Yes, I would like to increase my muscle mass, increase my strength, and I'm doing that by going to the gym and training consistently, but I'm by no means like ridiculously obsessed with it where it's like taking over my life. It's just something that I enjoy doing. Like, that's just what I do.
But for people like Dylan, struggling with their perception of their own body, after 3 years of therapy, he says he's stronger now, inside and out.
I have a greater appreciation for myself. I can now look in the mirror and I'm not hung up on these preconceptions of how I look. I'm not obsessed with focusing on flaws, how skinny I am, how weak I am. I see beautiful Dylan.
For Nightline, I'm Gio Benitez in New York.